Maybe one of the most overused terms or phrases in the hobby today. What I have here are a handful of cards where I've done just that, but at the same time, cards where I definitely bought the grade. And so let's get started. First up is my first ever graded card purchase, and a card that sort of started off my Mickey Mantle collecting run of Tops cards. And this is a 66 Tops and a PSA 7. When I started that project around about 15 or so years ago, my goal was to get as many cards as I could of Mickey Mantle and a PSA 7, going back as far as I could afford. Because he wore number 7, that was sort of like my target sort of criteria. And this one, clearly, I only saw the 7 on the slab. I did not see how bad the tilt was. When I was shopping for this card, I was a total noob. And yeah, it took me, I guess, until quite some time later to realize that this had a terrible tilt to it. So today I would not buy this card looking like this. But here it is, the PSA 7 66 Tops Mantle. On the flip side, when I was shopping for Whitey Ford rookies, my budget at the time put me into something that would have gotten me around a 5 or a 6. And this was in early 2020. But I came across this card, and I just had to have it. I mean, it's a 2. There's a crease in here. But this, I thought, looked great. And I paid PSA 3 money for this PSA 2, which I will do. I will pay more for a card if it looks way better than the grade that it's in. And I did that in another example here coming up in a little bit. But Whitey Ford rookie card, I think this was March of 2020, and I want to say 5s and 6s at the time were in like the $1,000 range, and this one sent me back, I think, $300. But at the time, 2s were going for like $200. But anyway, I just wanted it. I thought it looked great. Nice centering. And there's an example of buying the card, not the grade. Okay, the Dandy Mantle and a PSA 4. I would not buy a card that has this bad centering today. This was a knee-jerk purchase in the wake of having lost out on a 51 Bowman Mantle rookie card many years ago. And I do remember seeing a PSA 3 at the same time that was much better centered, but I bought this one because it was a 4. And so there's that. But, it certainly is still a nice card, and I think it's gotten a little more popular because of its scarcity, and it's just a nice looking card in general of Mickey Mantle. So, yeah, I could have had a nicely centered 3, but I went with the 4 because it was a 4. Up next is my Bob Gibson rookie. This was a card that I don't know if I lost the auction or if I had it watched and then I let it go by without bidding, but I remember kicking myself afterwards, regretting not getting it the first time around. Luckily for me, this very same card showed up like 3 months later on eBay, and I paid about $100 more than what it sold for previously. So I think this was like $725, which was a lot more. I think that was what PSA 7s were going for at the time, and this is being a 6.5. But the centering on this is outstanding, and that's what drew me to the card. And you don't see it all that often on these Gibsons. Oftentimes you'll see them off-centered one way or the other. And even then, this is not perfect, but it's as good as it's going to get, I think, for this particular issue, this Bob Gibson 6.5. Nolan Ryan absolutely bought the grade, 7.5. There were better centered 7s out there, but this was a half grade higher, and a little higher end than a 7, but not quite the price point of an 8. And most of these cards are off-centered anyway, so maybe that was like part of the reason I didn't really fret about it too much. I just wanted a high-grade example. I mean, you can see here left, right is not so great from the centering standpoint, but people forget about Jerry Koosman and how great a career this guy had. I mean, this is a killer rookie card. But yeah, it's Nolan's rookie, so there's that. 7.5. Okay, so Jim Brown, absolutely. I overpaid for this 4 because I knew I would never see another 4 like this ever again. This looks better than most 6s and 7s that I've come across. Very hard to find centered, very hard to find without surface issues. This is very minimal. I don't really see any standout white streaks and the image is not blurry, which I see a lot on much higher graded examples. I think the primary reason why it's a 4 is this corner up here. It looks like it was squeezed a little bit with some pliers. I don't know if it's the best way to describe it, but whatever. So I probably paid about a 15 to 20% upcharge over the cost of what 4 is typically sold for. But those 4s, again, would be notoriously off-centered and just look like crap. So I was okay with, paying up to get this because it looks so good. And it's just the 4. So there's Jim Brown. Jordan Rookie, without a doubt, I wanted the 8.5. There's probably better centered 8s available. But this was a 4 sharp corners purchase many years ago for, I think it was like $1,900, this Jordan Rookie. But you can see the centering is not very good. In fact, maybe that's why it's an 8.5 and not a 9. It definitely is obvious because of the multicolored borders here. It really stands out. This thing is off-centered left and right, or right to left or whatever. So, it's Jordan's Rookie, and important card. A lot of them out there, though. Certainly not a rare card. Here's my Mantle Rookie. Very happy to find this in a 1.5 because, this looks like a 4. Maybe a 5, probably a 4. The reason why it's a 1.5 is this paper loss on the back, but I wouldn't be able to afford a 51 Bowman Mantle at the time if it were a 4 or a 5 and looked like this. So the fact that there's paper loss on the back knocked it to this 1.5 grade, also knocked it down into my price range. So definitely glad to have gotten this when I did. There's no roller marks. Centering is really good. I mean, there might be a touch off left, right, and top to bottom, but it's pretty typical on this card. Also, roller marks are usually present. So, again, just happy to get this low-grade beauty of Mickey Mantle's rookie card. And, yeah, so that's on the back, but it's on the back. Who cares? I kept that price point down for that. So, buy the card, not the grade, right? On the flip side, Brooks Robinson rookie, 7.5. I thought, boy, that was a cool grade to get for something like this. And, the centering is kind of crappy. I mean, nowadays I wouldn't buy this card with this kind of centering, but here it is. This was I think also 4 sharp corners, maybe around $1,000 or $1,100 a few years back. Brooks Robinson rookie card, certainly an important card, one of the key cards of the 50s. And I'm not really a fan of qualifiers. In fact, I hate them. But sometimes you got to make exceptions. And I've done that only twice on one card where it's obvious it needs a qualifier. But then there's this one here where the qualifier happens to be the mark, and the mark is just down here. It looks like a smudge, an ink smudge or something, which doesn't take away from the card at all. And so this is a PSA 5 cardboard Joe DiMaggio with a qualifier, which as a result kept the price reasonable. And so that's my kind of card. So I'm more tolerant of things like this if they're not so obvious. But again, I have one other card that has a qualifier, and it's obvious as to why it does, but I'm not showing that one here today. So there's Joe D. Now, Corey Kluber joined the Yankees a few years ago. I wanted his rookie card. I wanted it in a 10. And I don't know if I got the old bait and switcheroo from the eBay seller or what, but why? What the hell happened here? The centering on this, I can't believe this is a 10. And maybe I didn't make a big stink about it because it was like dirt cheap, maybe under $30 for this card. But you can see here the centering is horrible. I don't know how the hell this got a 10. But Corey Kluber, rookie from 2007 Bowman draft picks and prospects. I wanted a 10, and I got a 10 all right, but it looks like crap. Okay, one more for the buy the card, not the grade. My first PSA 1 purchase. Ones, I used to have a personal policy where I'm not going to buy any PSA 1s. They always look like crap. This one is the opposite. It's a 1 because there's paper loss contained here within the white border. Otherwise, it looks great. I mean, this might be a 3 in the absence of this paper loss, right? And this was a pre-pandemic, or I think around about the time I got that Whitey Ford card, this Ty Cobb red background portrait here. So just a great-looking card. Presents very well. There might be a crease down here. I don't know. But again, being that it's a 1, it kept the price low. But at the same time, the eye appeal is very high for that particular example. And then the last one of the, I bought the grade and not the card, is a 69 Tops Mantle. So the story with this one's a little different than the 66. 69s are generally hard to find centered anyway. And I remember spending an awful lot of time trying to get one out. Again, I had to have a 7. I couldn't have a 6 or a 5. And I saw a lot of those that looked great. I didn't want to pay for an 8. And it got to a point where I just said, you know what, the hell with it. Just get this and move on. And that's what I did. So, but you could see the the card is just not centered all that well. It's a 7, but I don't know. Again, I wouldn't buy this 7 today, given a second opportunity to do so. So there you have it. Just a few examples where, I did indeed buy the grade over the card and vice versa. As always, thanks for watching, and more to come.